It's 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot, 4 foot. Next thing I know, these cars are bobbing. When the water came in, thousands and thousands of gallons were just rolling down the stairs. And I even said to my sister on the phone, I said, we're in trouble. Everything's underwater. Cars are bobbing like apples in a pail. It doesn't seem like it's going to stop.
You know, the days after Sandy, this beautiful bright sun, and all I could see was just people feeling so struck and traumatized by what had just happened.
The initial 8 days was tough, but the 9th and 10th day it got cold because it was in October, right there. That's Richard Street. I had to help the elderly go step by step, carrying up water, food, candles, and flashlights. You live on the 10th floor and you're 70 years old. How you expect to get groceries up there?
What Superstorm Sandy and the surge that came and devastated Red Hook demonstrated for us here was that communities, neighbors, were the first responders. Federal government finally responded after a long time and passed a bill that really brought funding to public housing. That's where we figured out we needed to make sure that community was at the table, and that we needed a top designer to join us and design the next chapter of Red Hook.
We actually requested, when we started the project from NYCHA, that we would have the opportunity to speak directly with the community. That direct relationship between the architect and the people living in the community is really critical to framing our thinking, their trust, and forming a solution that's really going to be the best.
The first few community meetings were very, very tough. We had come to them with what we thought were concepts and ideas that would be welcomed. However, their main complaints had almost nothing to do with what we had identified as the main issues to solve for.
One of the things that we discovered during our community engagement process was, yes, we have to deal with Sandy, but there were a number of other issues that the site faced sort of on an everyday basis.
The Red Hook homes were both a place hit really hard by the storm and a place that is really hit hard by the legacy of public housing and what it takes to maintain it and the level of investment and also the level of neglect. You're not just talking about floodwater. You're not just talking about power outage.
We understood better which areas were dangerous areas and why they may have been dangerous. Sometimes it's something as simple as not enough lighting. What FEMA stipulates is that the funding can only be used for resiliency, repairs, and prevention. What we wanted to do was a little bit more.
Our goal was to take every dollar and use it for measures that would make the community resilient, but would also improve the quality of life in other ways for the residents.
The power plant on the east side acts as a beacon that signals the presence of Red Hook. The materials are very transparent, so they expose equipment inside of it. There's an idea about visibility, understanding. The west power plant faces Coffee Park. We've conceived of it as a large-scale mural which the Red Hook community would participate in creating so the residents could feel ownership of the changes in their environment.
And then across those two facilities, there will be a distribution of heat and electricity across the site, located between the buildings and located adjacent to the buildings. All of these utilities will be protected, will be raised, will be provided at the elevation that they need to be to accommodate the next Sandy and to accommodate sea level rise.
The pods act as lanterns in the way that they were lit, but they also were slightly differentiated in their color. So it's an orienting device, but it's also a way of creating a sense of identity for each courtyard.
To protect from flood, we came up with this idea of the lily pad, which is lifting the landscape and creating a zone of protection.
If the neighborhood floods again, the water will come through, but these lily pads will provide a safe haven for the residents of both sets of buildings.
We worked with the police department and we made sure that the elevations of the lily pad, can you see from your police car activity that's happening. At the same time, and you can tell your kid, you stay within the courtyard, creating that sense of ownership is definitely a safer landscape.
As people start seeing the changes, they're going to want more, and they're going to see that things can happen when we unite as a community.